ultimate sacrifice in times of war. Personally, it was very different for me this year, as I proudly wore a set of replica medals in honour of my cousin, Corporal Noel George Costigan, who served in the Pacific in World War II, where his actions led him to being awarded the Military Medal, before going off to the Korean War, where he was badly wounded. Noel was taken to a US field hospital, then airlifted to Australia, but sadly never walked again, confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. That's right, 47 years in a wheelchair when disability services were virtually non-existent. My late mother Nola was actually named after Noel, and I also carry his name as Jason Noel Costigan, something I'm very proud of, given Noel's special place in our community, particularly in Walkerston, the place we call Scrubby, where he was proudly a member of the Walkerston-Plaistow sub-branch of the RSL. May he rest in peace. This year for ANZAC Day, I had the great honour of not only wearing those replica medals, thanks to military historian Graham Jackson, but also laying a wreath and speaking at 3 services, starting with an incredible, moving dawn service on Hamilton Island. Congratulations to Glenn Burke and the Hamo team for again putting on a wonderful service with the support of the Royal Australian Air Force, local school children and the wider Hamilton Island community. I joined Mr Burke in lamenting the loss of Mr Graham Wyatt, who was a regular at these dawn services until his passing some 18 months ago, but I'm sure Graham was there in spirit. After Hamo was on to the mainland for the parade and main service in Airlie Beach, where the big crowds were treated to a flyover by a RAF Globemaster. Again, hats off to the RAF. The service was a huge success, largely thanks to the Airlie Beach Whitsunday sub-branch of the RSL, headed by new President Rod Davies, backed up by his predecessor Terry Brown, and supported by RSL sub-members such as Bill Rose, Joseph Clancy and Richard Filewood, just to name a few. I also wish to recognise our Navy and Air Cadets who participated in the service, bugler Bryce Fraser, Mick Patello on the bagpipes, and Airlie Norton and Jenny Borrellini, who gave us a wonderful rendition of the Australian and New Zealand national anthems respectively. After Airlie, it was on to Proserpine, where the Proserpine RSL sub-branch also did a tremendous job. Congratulations to President Jason Rattiri, also patron George Nesdeloff, and members for another moving service in a town with a very special connection to Gallipoli. For, Mr Speaker, it was in Proserpine, that great sugar milling town that I represent, where the famous Gallipoli sniper Billy Singh enlisted for World War I, and it's my hope one day that we can build a special memorial in Proserpine in honour of Billy Singh, just like Claremont, his birthplace, lest we forget.
Cool.